Okay, so what I want to do now is have the backdrop of the movie. So that's offered with the API. So what we'll do is in the function that we just created in the last video, which is this display movie details, I'm going to go right before, let's see, right before we create the div here. And let's say overlay for background image, and we're going to have a function called display background image, and that's going to take in two things: the type, which is going to be movie, and the reason I'm passing the type in is because we're going to do this for movies and shows, and we need to know which element to actually put it in: movie details or show details or TV details, whatever I called it. And then we also, of course, need the backdrop path, which comes from the API. So movie dot and then backdrop. I think it's backdrop underscore path. Okay, so that's coming from here, fetching it from the data from the API, and that should be available to us. So we're going to pass it into that function. So let's come down here and let's create that function. So display backdrop, I'll use caps here, display backdrop on details page or pages, because we're doing this for movies and shows. So let's say function display background image, and again that's going to take in the type and also the background path. Then we want to create our div, so I'm going to call this overlay div and set that to document dot create element, and we're creating a div. And then we just have a bunch of properties that we need to add. So of course we need the image, so it's say overlay div dot style dot background image. Now this is going to be set to a specific URL, which is going to be, let's say URL, and it's going to be https and image.tmdb.org/t/p/original, so that's the size, and then slash whatever the background path is, so we want to add that here, background path. Now, there's a bunch of other styles that need to be added, so instead of just typing them all out, I'm just going to paste them in here. You guys can copy it, or you can grab it from the files. So we have the background size set to cover, position center, background repeat, no repeat. It's going to take up the entire height and width. Obviously, it's going to be positioned to absolute. It's going to start at top 0, left 0. The z-index is -1 to be sure that it's behind the content. And opacity is set to 0.1 because we do want it to be, obviously we want it to be faded. And then the last thing we need to do is check to see what the type is, because we need to know where to put this. If it's a movie, we want it to go into the movie details ID element. If it's a show, then show details. So let's say if the type is equal to movie, then we're going to use document dot query selector, and we want the ID of movie dash details, and then we're going to append child, and we're going to append the overlay div. Okay, so now I'm going to copy that and say else. Then we want to change movie details to the show details element. So let's go ahead and save that, and if we take a look, you can see now we have the backdrop. And if you want to change something, like maybe you want to make the opacity, I mean, I wouldn't do that because it's now the text is not that readable, so I'd keep it at 0.1, but if you want to change things around, you can. So if we go back, let's go to a different movie. So I think that's really cool that that is offered in the API, because that really makes it look like, you know, like a professional, like Netflix type website. All right, cool. So now in the next video, we want to do the same thing that we did for movies for TV shows. So if we click on a specific show, we want to have that data here. We also want to have the backdrop.